Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this episode is Reincarnation and Spirit Travel. We talk about reincarnation and then spirit travel, but before both of these, we talk about Chuck Norris. So here's Kuntarkis.
Oh, by the way, I got to share this. As I was laying in bed, I did my affirmations, and because I actually spoke about him, which was Chuck Norris.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he suddenly appeared with my eyes closed right in front of me and looked at me, just the way he is, 86 years old. And I said, "Well, he appeared like in a shadow form, but I just knew it was him." And I just said, "Wow, I was thinking about you before, and now I'm seeing you. So are you saying you want to see me?" And I could see his head moving. He never said a word, but he moved. And I said, "I will try." And I just rolled over and just went to sleep really quickly. And I came out of my body. I went into spirit world and I found him. It took me about probably 10 minutes physically, but I actually found him
Is
with some
he,
other.
is he
Sorry,
alive or not alive?
he's dead.
Ah, I didn't realize.
Yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
that's recent, is it?
Just very recent, yes,
Ah,
apparently.
okay.
And I saw him and we sat down. I got him to come and sit down. He said, "How do I sit down?" And I explained to him and showed him because he found that quite difficult because of being just a spirit. And he said, "I'm a little confused." He said, "Am I physically dead?" He said, "All." I said, "Apparently, from what I read, apparently you are." And he said, "I know I was in hospital and I remember I was starting to struggle for air. And that's all I remember. Everything blacked out." And he ended up in spirit world. So we had a really, really interesting talk. We spoke about Bruce Lee. He didn't like Bruce Lee because Bruce Lee sort of embarrassed him on purpose. And he said he was a little bit humiliated, but because he was offered the job to play, I think in something The Dragon, I think it was, I'm not sure, he was supposed to be the bad guy sent in to kill Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee was just so damn fast, and he found it really, really difficult. And that's why Bruce Lee hit him a few times, and it eventually got to him. So he ended up not really liking Bruce Lee. He respected him as a martial artist, but he didn't really like him. And what he said to me was very interesting. He said, "You know what?" He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Kuntarkis." He said, "That's a really strange name." I said, "Well," I said, "on this planet it is, but I said, where I come from, it's not." He said, "What do you mean where you come from?" And I said, "Well," I said, "Do you believe in other beings from other universes?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I come from a planet called Nakaris, which is 417,000 light years from planet Earth." And he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Sharing knowledge, spreading it." And he goes, "Oh, okay." He said, "Have you ever done any martial arts?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I had a really, really um, grand master who spent between 17 and 19 years in China and also part of the Himalaya mountains. And he learned Kung Fu, Wing Chun, and all that type of stuff." And he said, "Wow." And I said, "I started learning, and at a very early age, that was the body. And then when I came in, I took over and I continued. And I haven't stopped since." I said, "I've just been doing bits here and bits there and just, just keep training, keep my body fit." And he says, "Oh." And then I said, "Do you mind if I ask you some questions?" And he said, "Yeah, yeah, go for it," he said. And I asked him about some of the actors, like Sylvester Stallone, Seagal, Clint Eastwood, Dwayne Johnson, um, Diesel Van Dam, I think he is, or Dame or something. And I think Gerard something, I can't remember his name. He was a
Oh
big,
yes.
tall guy,
Yeah.
German guy. You know the guy?
The
Yep.
one that played in Will with Sylvester Stallone, you mean, or?
I'm not sure, mate. This guy has got blonde hair. He's got to be German or Yugoslavian. He's got a wide face, but he also played in um, oh, I can't remember the movie, but one of them, I think it was Sylvester Stallone that was
Yeah,
in
the
it.
Rocky ones. Yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big guy,
Yeah.
and he was. I asked about him, and there was a couple of other ones I asked about. Also, Keanu Reeves, and he just said, "Look," he said, "in all honesty," he said, "Kuntarkis, um, I don't know a lot about them." He said because when I finished with Bruce Lee, I was doing other things, and I played in, law enforcement movies and things like that. I also did a series as the Ranger, uh, and various other things, and none of those actors ever played in his things. So he said I didn't have a lot to do with them, but he said I heard some really strange stories that they were involved with a really bad group of people, and they dictated to what they were going to do in movies and all that type of stuff. He said, that's really all I know. I said, okay, that's all. I just wanted to ask. And we just spoke a bit about spirit world. And he asked me, he said, what is that thing over there in spirit world? I said, oh, that's my dome. He said, what? He said, that's my dome. I said, and he said, what is it? I said, that's where all the evil spirits that are within the astral world and within the spirit world, they're rounded up by an alien race called the Nipulans, who are seventh dimensional. And his eyes, he just looked at me and said, oh my God, seventh dimensional. He said, I've heard about dimensions. And he asked me to explain it, which I did. And I said, they've been watching me for a while and they've helped me in a very big way. And we've rounded up over 852,000 so far. And his mouth goes, what? And where are they? Are they in the dome? I said, no, they're all vaporized. What do you mean? And I explained it to him. And he was flabbergasted by it. He was really quite amazed. And he said, so you're getting rid of all the evil ones that die physically, that come in here, they're rounded up and they're put into this thing, the dome. And he said, then you vaporize them. What with? What type of gun or what is it? I said, no, it's my mind. My father, and I explained about my father, Yarkis Cardis, to him, in depth actually, and he was amazed by that. And he asked me if he was God. And I said, no. He would laugh his head off if you called him that. No, he is simply a creator, and he's one that helps civilizations. He's also one that wipes out all the evil, aggressive nature in aliens that are vindictive to other innocent species. And he was quite fascinated by that. And that was pretty well it after that. And he left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You knew it wasn't time to help him through?
No, mate, it wasn't. No. He's got some things to deal with before he goes through, so I didn't even want to suggest that. But he did say, look, he said, can we, meet again? I said, we can. Absolutely we can. He said, all right. He said, so I'm going to hang around here. He said, also around the dome. He said, I've met some other spirits, he says, and we're communicating and we're sort of friendly. So they're quite, he said, interested in who I am, and how I've aged so much. They can't understand that. So, yeah, it was pretty interesting, mate.
Wow. How do you think he found you in the first place?
Sorry?
How do you think he found you in the first place?
To be honest with you, I never asked that question. I will next time. Yes. But all I know is that I was laying on the bed with my eyes closed doing my affirmations, and suddenly I could see this little formulation of a face, and the face appeared, and it was definitely him. Definitely. And he was, as I said, I've seen a photo of him when he was in his early 80s, so it was pretty well the same. So he's 86 years of age.
Yeah, it might have been some attraction to your martial arts or something, the energy, yeah.
I reckon it was just the energy, mate. I think he was drawn to it for some reason, and
well,
we ended up seeing each other and talking.
He could have been guided to it by his guides, maybe.
Yes, yeah. Very much so. Very much so.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I thought so.
Kuntarkis, why does reincarnation exist at all?
Interesting question, Michael. Very simple answer. If we didn't have reincarnation, we would only exist once as a human entity. And what would we actually learn? All the negative things that we have created, or the positive things, we would have no way of knowing what we've learned, because we would die, our spirit would probably perish, and we would just simply go into the ground as if we never existed, and time would move on. That is one of the reasons why the essence of living energy creates for every single universe a certain amount of needs to bring balance. And that's why reincarnation was introduced and created, so humanity can have 2 lives, 12 lives, 100 lives, 1,000 lives. It depends on their level of thinking and how long it takes to learn the lessons of life, positive or negative, and how to let go. So it puts us on the wheel of life.
Right. And the aim in the end is to get off that wheel and literally be able to exist constantly beyond the physical realm.
That is very true. Once we learn the lessons of life, depending on how many lives we've had, that would be our choice, we then can choose. And we can literally go back to the soul and be drawn back to the soul and have a new incarnation if we choose to, or move on to another reality, whether it's 4th dimensional or another universe. And that happens.
Wow. And how is karma created, stored, and resolved?
All through our emotions. Every single emotion we have, be it negative or positive, will become a form of karma. And once it's created, it becomes stored within our cellular memory. And all the negative emotions get stored at our base chakra. That's why we react as humans in certain situations, so we can learn to maybe have a conscious thought and say, hang on, I don't need to bring this up and feel angry because this person's saying something to me. I need to look at it and say, without judgment, thank you. That's going to help me to let go and move on. That's how you resolve it. Simple.
Yeah, it is. I've learnt this from you. Sometimes just not acting, not reacting, simply not taking action is the thing to do.
Absolutely. That's exactly true.
Wow. And what carries over from one incarnation to the next?
What carries over? Oh, wow. What carries over, mate, is all your negative emotions and all your positive emotions. It depends on the level of your thinking, the level of your understanding, and also the level of your evolution in consciousness. Now, if you're a really, really bad person, you will carry that over every lifetime until you recognize it and learn to let it go and learn through forgiveness never to do that again. This is one of the hardest things that most people don't understand. It's forgiveness that allows us to move on with life. So we do carry that over, mate, in every incarnation we have until we resolve those emotions. Emotions are based on every experience we have, positive or negative.
And it's forgiveness that allows us to carry on with life.
Absolutely.
Gee. How much freedom does a person have when choosing a new life?
100% of their choice. It is total freedom. Once you go through the actual tunnel of light and you learn to understand, you learn to relax, you learn to let go of all your stress, you become peaceful and you feel that you're living in harmony, you can then decide yourself what life you're going to have and what experiences you're going to have. It's like it's already formatted for you, but it's you who do the formatting. And you might say, you know, I was a really bad person. I did some horrible things. I didn't harm anyone so badly physical, but I did some really bad things emotionally. So when I go back, I'm going to be a really kind person and a very respectful person, and I'm going to help people. And that's what actually happens.
Right. And can karmic ties keep people bound to the same relationships repeatedly?
Absolutely, mate. 100% again. When we have karmic debts, whether they're positive or negative, if we don't resolve them in, say, a lifetime, we will come back, whether we're the father, mother, son, daughter, grandfather, brother, sister, and we will have to learn to resolve them 100%. And we are bound in different circumstances, but we are still bound to relationships. So we repeat them, so we learn to let go and move on with life.
Gee.
Yeah.
And how do awareness and free will affect karmic outcomes?
Well, one of the things is one of the best lessons to learn is becoming self-aware, and also realizing that you have free will in everything that you do. But we are highly conditioned by our emotions, and we're highly conditioned by society's rules and even the government rules. So free will can also affect us in many, many ways. It just depends. So what we need to do is to look at the outcome of what self-awareness is and also what free will is. Now, self-awareness is knowing. Free will is making your own decisions in life without being told what you have to do once you become an adult, a responsible adult. So yes, it does affect the karmic outcomes in a positive way or a negative way. That's where free will comes in.
Wow. And are some life lessons impossible to avoid?
Oh, yes, mate. There are people that avoid things all the time. I'm not joking, I reckon I've met at least 100 out of all those people that you can give them the exact information of knowledge to set them free from their emotions. Once you express it, they look at you and you can see they're sort of, a little bit funny about it. And you may see them again and they still haven't done anything, not one thing. And you ask them, did you put anything into action? No, I just never had the time. I just didn't feel like it. And whatever other reason comes along or whatever excuse comes along. So to them, it's like making an impossibility so they can avoid all those life lessons. And the problem is they aren't personally responsible. They're being non-responsible for their actions. And life lessons are all about completion. And most of us never finish that completion. We avoid it.
Can illness or hardship reflect unresolved patterns from earlier incarnations?
Yes, it can, because what we do, say we're in a life where we suffer a lot of illnesses. Okay, it's based on emotion, but also can be based on parents' genetic transfer, because illnesses go down the line no matter what, and it's passed on. It's not passed on to every generation, but it can miss the son and it can hit the daughter, or it can miss the son and the daughter and hit the other two children you have, and they can have disabilities, they can be easy to obtain illnesses throughout their life, whatever. And a lot of that is based on their own karma, the things that they've actually done in their own life. But no one really looks at that. What we need to do is reflect on what we don't resolve in life. And when we say, abuse a person for no reason whatsoever, that creates a karmic debt emotionally. But if we don't abuse them and we stop in that moment and say in your own mind, I'm not going to do that because I notice that's the way I am and I have to change my attitude. I got to start being fairer, more balanced in life so I don't do things like that. Because if we don't, all those unresolved patterns will follow you through life. I've seen it dozens of times, even from earlier incarnations. It's passed over. It's in our cellular memory. And whatever emotions we create, say up to the age of, say, 25, we can start activating those emotions through the memory of the cellular memory and relive them unresolved. And what we need to do is find a way to resolve them.
Right. So how can a person consciously reduce karmic burden in this lifetime?
In all honesty, mate, learn to unconditionally love yourself first. That's the first lesson, is to really discover your heart chakra that is full of love. Always is. It never, ever changes. What changes is the emotions of self-hate. And that's a really, really sad thing. There are so many people that cannot love themselves and never. I mean, my human father, I mentioned this before. When I came into the body, I went back into the memory. It was being shown to me. My human father never, ever said once to Roman, the original recipient of this body, I love you, son. Never, ever said it. Because no one ever said it to him because of what happened through the Second World War. It changed everything. It destroyed the love that is within everyone. My father was a very happy child. As he grew up and the war was there, he wasn't. Everything changed emotionally. And that's the really sad part. But to reduce anyone's karmic debt is to learn to love yourself unconditionally. And as you love yourself unconditionally and accept yourself as you are, you learn to let go of the burdens that you carry in your lifetime. And when you do that, everything starts to feel really, really good, much better within yourself. Forgiveness of self and others is very, very important to reduce your karmic debt.
Wow. And you can use affirmations, you can speak it to help you move in that direction.
Absolutely, Michael. Affirmations and meditation are very powerful tools. And you know, the funny thing is, if we go back 30 years ago, 40 years ago, meditation and affirmations were the biggest thing in the world. The elite criminals have destroyed it, slowly but surely. And they've literally infiltrated so many hundreds of thousands of religions. And they've literally wiped out the positive aspect of religion. And what we've got now in so many of those churches are pedophiles, causing so much pain to children, but also to parents, which is not right. It's wrong.
So we've spoken about reincarnation and karma, and now I want to ask you about things like spirit travel. So what is spirit travel in practical terms?
Spirit travel is the knowing that it actually does happen, that it's not just an illusion or a fantasy. Many people that I've spoken to, probably over the last 15 years, probably only about 2% took it in and actually know it's true. Most of them, they think that it's just an illusion, some fantasy that some religions created And it's just stupidity. What they don't realize is this: without your spirit, you could not exist on this planet whatsoever in just a human body, because you have no consciousness within spirit. Spirit is your energy force. It gives you the energy to exist here. It revitalizes you every single night that you go to sleep. And it's the other way around. Without the body, the spirit could never exist here. It's the same thing. So, spirit travel in reality is real, 100%, because I've done it many, many, many times, and it's improved. Now, if it didn't improve, I would say to you that maybe it is an illusion. But the things that I've accomplished, because I believe beyond all doubt, not many have ever accomplished. To my knowledge, no one has ever built a dome within the spirit world, which is fourth dimensional, out of living energy, and made it like it's solid. Even to put a force field on top, and then to put spirits into it, and then to vaporize them. That's beyond people's comprehension. And that's what the sad fact is. They haven't got the knowing. And that's what we need to discover within ourselves. That everything is possible, no matter what. Spirit travel allows you, when you grow consciously, physically, you also grow consciously as a spirit. And when that happens, you can travel vast distances. I mean, I've gone twice now to my own planet without the help of my father, Yakis Kardis. Before, Michael, I could never do it. No matter how many times I tried. And the only reason that it actually happened was because of Father, when he took me and others in that actual pyramid that was transparent. And he spoke to me and basically said to me, "Do you know what?" I said, "What, Father?" He said, "Son, nothing is impossible. Any form of limitation is the physical aspect of all that you are physically. Go beyond it and work with the spirit, and believe the spirit is highly intelligent, because it has the same makeup that your physical body has, even your cellular memory. And within that cellular memory is all the knowledge that is within the cellular memory of the physical body. Consciously think, and you will do it if you put the action and practice into it. And I did. Weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And yet, I'm now doing it. Only twice, but I'm doing it again very shortly, because I'm trying to take my sweetheart with me, my wife Misha, and our son JC, so we can experience Shikani totally conscious.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yep. That's my goal, mate.
Yeah. And so how does spirit travel differ from dreaming or visualization?
Okay. When you say dreaming, remember we talked about that in the previous one. You know, in reality, dreams don't exist. What does exist is dream reality. Everything that you experience, even if it's chaos or complete confusion, is actual reality. You are experiencing it, and you are creating it through your visualization, your imagination. Spirit travel is not really different, because if you come out of your body, you think to yourself consciously, I'm going to spirit travel to this place. Even if it's like, say, Hawaii, I'm going to go and sit on the beach like I did. And I'm going to sit there and ponder. And I'm going to feel the breeze, and I'm going to feel the water touching my feet. And if anyone goes past, I'm going to say hello and see them as real, even if they're physical. That's like spirit travel. When you dream, you are doing the same thing. Your body lays down and you begin a dream. What we don't realize, we are projected out of our body spiritually, and we are creating from our thought consciousness or our emotions that we had throughout the day or the day before, based on maybe fear. So we create a dream reality that is real, but created from our negative experiences we had in our physical life. But in reality, that is a form of spirit travel. Visualization is imagination. If you can visualize something, then you can complete it and do it. If you can imagine something, it's the same principle. And that's the beauty. Believing is doing.
And what conditions make out-of-body experience easier or even safer?
It's called bliss. Feeling peaceful, feeling as if you are in harmony as you go to bed. If you go to bed in total peace, and by doing this little exercise very quickly, I lay my body on this bed. I place my arms over my heart center. I see the light formulating within my heart center throughout my entire internal being, coming out through my pores all around me, spreading out 2 meters in all directions, from the top to the bottom, from the front to the back, from the left to the right. I am encircled in pure living energy, and I am safe. I can now project my spirit with full conscious awareness out of my body. That will make it easier for me and also safer in the knowing my body is protected and nothing can break my silver cord and take my body and leave me in limbo or spirit vibration. Simple as that.
Right. Are there risks in traveling without enough emotional or spiritual balance?
Well, the first thing, if you travel with emotional, say, energy, which in most situations it's based on negativity, then you are at risk in having a very confusing travel or experience. But if you travel purely from your heart and you are in balance spiritually and you think in a peaceful, harmonious way, then you will create what your imagination is seeing. It's just not imagination. When I traveled to this island so many years ago, after so many weeks and weeks and weeks of practice, I remember coming out of my body, sitting on the beach, and I was sitting in a chair with the water coming up against the table legs. And I saw on the table a pen and paper. And I was looking out to the ocean. And then I turned myself and I saw the palm trees, a beautiful white sand. And I said to myself, wow, I am really balanced. This is brilliant. I am so happy. I feel my energies soaring. I'm going to write something. And you know the words I wrote? I am doing it. I wrote it 3 times. I am doing it. This is reality. This is not a dream. This is my creation through my own visualization. And I sat there with my legs out straight, folded over, with my leg folded over my right leg folded over my left leg, put my hands behind my head and had the biggest smile on my face. And then I woke up and I go, wow, I've done it. It might sound difficult. It might sound easy, but in reality, it is easy when we use our visualization or our imagination. But we have to keep practicing the same thing so we literally manifest it into our real reality, not just a confused dream, but actual reality.
And how does intention affect where a person travels?
So you mean like if you're traveling in spirit world?
Yeah, and you have the intention.
Okay.
If you're traveling in spirit world.
Okay. If you say to yourself, I will go there. I will go there. I will go there. That's your intention. And you see it through your visualization. You say to yourself again, I can travel anywhere. I can travel anywhere because that's my intention. And then you say to yourself, I am doing it. I am doing it. I am there. This is my intention. I am there. And I feel balanced. I feel at peace and harmony. That's the beauty, mate. Believing is doing. And it doesn't matter if it takes a month or a year. If you put the same energies into it and you believe you're doing it, then you will manifest it into your reality. And that's the beauty.
Right. And can two people consciously meet in a non-physical realm?
Absolutely. What my wife Misha and I are doing, sometimes when we lay down, we hold hands. And I see myself float out of my body and I come over the top of my darling and I say, sweetheart, come with me. Come with me. We're going into spirit world. Come on, project out, project out. And if nothing happens, I go back into my body. And then I do it again. Then I get my darling to do it, to use her imagination and believe it. I mean, she has amazing experiences all the time. Sometimes very confused ones, like everyone. Other times, absolutely brilliant. But if you both lay down or you lay yourself down, or the person that you wish to meet, and they may be living in their house and you may be living in your house, you send them an email laying it out, or you talk to them on the phone and you say, this is what to do. At exactly 9 p.m., lay on your bed, place your hands over your heart, and take some deep breaths. Then see beautiful white light encasing you and know that your body is protected. Then say, I project my spirit now to meet Michael. I project my spirit now to meet Michael. And you say the same thing, whoever the lady may be, her name. And if you both practice that, the distance is nothing. You can be in different states, different countries, and you can be together in moments once you know that you can do it. And that's how simple it is. But who practices that, Michael?
Yeah, you're
Hardly
right.
anyone.
You're right. Yeah. Why do some people remember these experiences clearly while others do not?
Very simple word, thought consciousness. When you develop your consciousness, you develop the knowing. And the knowing is that you can project yourself and you can remember all the experiences of that projection, as well as the experiences of where you've traveled to, or maybe who you have met or who you communicated with. It's entirely your choice.
Right.
But people do remember. But you got to teach yourself, you got to train yourself, just like if you go to school and, you might be in class, say in grade 6, and you have to remember certain types of information. The more you do it, the easier it will be to remember it. And it's no different to remembering your experiences clearly once you project out of your body. It's all about conscious awareness. That's what it's about. Others have to train to be able to do it.
And what is the role of energetic cleansing before or after travel?
It's very simple. What I said before about laying on the bed and putting your hands over your heart and doing the same thing by, say, emanating white light throughout your inner body and your outer body, spreading it out 2 meters in all directions. That is your cleansing. And what you say, while I project out of my body is safe within the light of protection. It is my force field, and nothing of a negative nature can enter. It will dissolve automatically, and I will be safe. And I can now travel on my adventure and come back and remember everything because I train myself to remember. And you will. So that's cleansing. When you get back, there is no real need to cleanse your spirit. Because if you are consciously aware, you're not in places that are negative and nothing will cling to you. But if you want to, at the beginning, you can teach your spirit to cleanse themselves and say, listen, spirit, before you go out, remember this. On your way back, see the light from your heart center, your heart chakra. See it cleansing your entire inner and outer being. Remember this, so it helps us both. It's very simple in the words to use.
I think for most people, when they're having dreams, they're dreams because maybe we're observing what's going on, whereas maybe with spirit travel, we realize that we can be conscious of actually controlling and changing and directing our own experience. Would that be right?
Yes, that's absolutely 100% true. Let me give you 2 examples. The average person who's, say, third dimensional in their thinking, and they don't actually do anything to spiritually grow. They do religion or that type of thing, but that's not going to help them whatsoever because they don't teach that. That person will have, in most cases, from their own negative emotions, confusing experiences, whether you want to class them as dreams or out-of-body experiences. And they'll have no way of knowing, and that maybe will upset them, their day, their month, or whatever. But you take another person that's on a spiritual path, and for the last 2 or 3 years, they've been learning, doing, and practicing certain movements, certain affirmations, certain types of meditation. And in those meditations, they see themselves projecting from their body. They may even use their imagination and try and create circumstances like a story and believe it. Then, as they grow consciously, they suddenly have visions that they've never experienced before. And they feel this really compelling power within themselves to want to project out of their body. So they do it. But nothing happens for the first few weeks. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, they feel their body pulling, separating, and they go with it. And their body comes out, the spirit body, and they go into spirit world. They start to experience all these different things. Then about 3 months later, they come out of their body and they say, I want to control through my thinking. I don't want to go into spirit world. I want to go to Switzerland. I've never seen it. I want to see how Switzerland is in the time of winter. So they see it by a photo that they've visualized many times, and they go there and they go with it. They go with the flow. They don't become fearful. And suddenly they're in Switzerland and they're flying around, looking at all the different mountains, the cities, the people. Then suddenly, 6 months later, they say, I want to go back to spirit world. I want to communicate with all these different spirits. And they do. And they learn. So the more they learn through their own thought consciousness, they start to create and manifest more powerful experiences. And that's what it's all about. It's growing beyond your third dimensional level of thinking. And the human brain has got one big issue. It's separate in its creativeness and its logical thinking. We are a very few of a species that have separate brains. The Nakarons don't have left and right hemisphere. They have one brain that also is logical, but also creative. And the knowledge that comes from their soul, through their mind, into their head, into the logical and to the creative side, is not dissected. It is accepted because they are advanced in their thinking, in their experiences, in even their spiritual travel. And that's what we have to do. We have to realize that having a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere is okay, but it's not okay when we've created an egotistical ego that wants to control every aspect of our life emotionally through negative experiences and keeps implying those negative experiences back upon us. That's what holds us back from growing spiritually in our own self-awareness. We have to go beyond it. And when we go beyond it, we can learn to spiritually project, travel universes, travel through thought consciousness, and create wherever we choose to be or to meet.
Right. And there's even, this is a thing that many, many other alien beings do daily.
Yes.
It's a common practice for them.
Common practice.
Yeah.
Especially with those, mate, who have a very, very balanced consciousness. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that, Kuntarkis. That was great.
That's okay.
This concludes another episode of Kuntarkis. If you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, find his website, which is etcconsciousness.com. He has articles there, he has his books listed there, and also if you have any reason to contact us in general for any reason, just email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.